with me today, also there's going to be a trio of my wonderful apprentices, my fearless apprentices, Marsha Adams, Sean Hall, and Sirka Chiraki. They are very well trained, very intelligent, and extremely conscientious people. They are here to help you explore how to work with fears. And Marsha, if you don't mind, perhaps I can also designate you as an admin or a co-host. So you can let more people in when they enter the waiting room. All right, so anyone who experiences fear knows how debilitating it can be, right? Have you ever experienced significant fear, anxiety, or perhaps some other manifestation of this emotional state? Anything from terror to just mild angst. All of these are not particularly happy feelings. Now, some of us actually watch horror movies. Horror movies and movies with various degrees of violence or scary movies are actually, surprisingly, one of the ways to overcome fear.
Lama?
Yes, Sirka.
So there's this question in the chat if you can speak louder. So I guess that
I can speak louder, thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, and anyone also is welcome to turn the volume up on their computers, phones, or whatever devices you're using. So, fear, what is it and where does it come from? And how does it affect us? Most of us have experienced it to some degree, especially in childhood, being a relatively small human being. When we're growing up, we're probably exposed to some scary scenarios. And some of them probably were reasonable fears. We were afraid that somebody is going to hurt us or something terrible is going to happen to us. But most of those fears probably did not manifest, did not materialize in a way that we were afraid it might. In other words, similar to what the well-known American writer Mark Twain said in his elder years. He said, "I'm an old man who's known many troubles, most of which never happened." In other words, we have most of our troubles in our minds, and most of them don't really materialize. They don't turn into what we were afraid they would. In other words, fear sometimes, or in many cases, is not an actual thing that we should be afraid of, but we are afraid of it anyway. So, what kind of fear do we want to deal with today? Most likely it's the unconscious fear, the fear that doesn't really have reason to be, and it literally just creates grief, adds more strife in our lives. They can range from phobias, unconscious fear that are nonsensical, or sometimes they're sensible, like, for example, fear of spiders. Halloween is coming up, right? So spiders, let's talk about those. Who's afraid of spiders? I'm not too afraid of spiders, but there's some reason perhaps to be somewhat apprehensive of them because they can bite you. The big ones, yes, that's right. Tarantula, they can probably give you some nasty poisoning. Can they kill you? Some can. So, is it completely unreasonable fear? No, it's not completely unreasonable. Should we be phobic about it? Well, probably it would be reasonable to be less afraid of spiders everywhere and just simply be aware of them and beware, as they say. Be careful not to be bit by a spider. Okay, how do we deal with that? Well, I will talk about it in just a minute. Other fears, for example, fear of heights. Some people say, I'm not afraid of heights, I'm afraid of falling. Okay. Again, it can be reasonable fear. If you are on a ledge or on a rock face, rock climbing without any gear, which I used to do when I was young and stupid. And yeah, there's, a higher probability of getting hurt if you fall. Luckily enough, I didn't fall too many times of too high of places. So I obviously experienced some injuries as a result of that kind of pastime. But I also learned how to not be debilitated by that fear. In other words, just like with spiders, just like with scary movies, exposure therapy is what actually is one of the most effective ways to overcome fear. Or, in other words, any psychologist would probably agree with me that facing the fear, facing what it is that you're afraid of, often dematerializes or evaporates that thing that you were afraid of. It's like it wasn't actually real. It was a figment of our imagination in most cases. Not always, but in many cases, it's going to be proven to be not actually that scary or just not exist at all. Fear of heights. Well, some people are afraid of walking on the edge of a boardwalk or a curb. Really, that's kind of debilitating fear of heights that unnecessary. If you are on top of a skyscraper and you're looking down and there are 100+ stories high ledge, well, you're probably going to experience some degree of discomfort. How do we overcome discomfort? Well, revisiting that skyscraper or practicing rock climbing, or as I got used to doing this is, flying airplanes or jumping out of them with parachutes, mind you, actually is an excellent way to overcome fear of heights. Can we overcome it in more kind of mundane things in our daily lives? Yes. For example, fear of public speaking. A notorious fear that many people say is greater than fear of death. Well, how about we actually practice public speaking? Right now, what am I doing? I'm practicing public speaking. Literally, I'm talking to you folks. Is this in front of a large audience? No, but it doesn't matter. If there are thousands of people in audience or if there are just 10, it should not really matter much. As a matter of fact, what we're doing is we are learning how to identify the edges of our comfort zone. Are you okay talking to one person? Okay, that's not public speaking, it's just one-on-one conversation. Fine. How about 2 people at the same time? Well, it's like not really public speaking, but it's a little bit a greater number of people. 3 people in the group, maybe a little bit more apprehension. Okay, let's find the edge of the comfort zone. If it's 3 people, that would make sense then to actually start developing opportunities or identifying opportunities in your life to speak to groups of 3 people at a time, inviting 3 friends for a party, for example, or participating in Toastmasters or other similar type of events. Actually gives you an ability to speak publicly without freaking out. If you get thrown off the deep end, put on the stage in front of a large audience, you may have stage fright, and that will be okay. Let's not cause ourselves too much grief. Let's find what it's like to be on the edge, but not push yourself over the edge. That's something that we can do without compromising our integrity, without giving ourselves too much stress hormones, ravaging our system. And also that is going to become more and more habituated, more and more comfortable. In other words, your comfort zone will gradually expand. Same applies to many other types of fear. For instance, the fear of embarrassment. When I was growing up, I hated being embarrassed. As a kid, who wants to be embarrassed? Well, I've experienced plenty of embarrassing situations in my life. Many of them were in front of my class at school, or, military unit in the military, or various other organizations. The embarrassment eventually became normal. Literally, I decided, you know what? I don't care to be embarrassed. How did I overcome the embarrassment fear? Well, exactly the same way as we talked about groups of people, or spiders, or heights, finding the edge of the comfort zone. So today, I'm not going to just spend the entire hour talking about it. We're actually going to have some practice time. And we're going to experiment and explore how to work with this exposure therapy with that degree of mindfulness that would actually not push us over the edge, but would give us an opportunity to feel, okay, here I become really alert. I'm not freaked out, but alert. I'm kind of on edge. And we don't want to push ourselves over the edge. We want to walk along the edge rather than go across the edge. Make sense? Great. Now, before we do the breakout rooms, let me ask if anyone has any particular challenges or questions or issues that they would like to bring up. If none, okay. So we are going to have miniature coaching sessions. Each of them will last about 15 minutes on average. And we are going to break into breakout rooms. And my fearless apprentices are going to walk you through the process of exploring your fears and perhaps discovering some ways of overcoming them using this simple and elegant approach. Now, if you have any challenges with what you experience, don't hesitate to bring them up, because obviously the process of learning is something that we all go through, and I think you will benefit tremendously from it. So I am going to click the button that is going to put us into breakout rooms. Yes.
Mama,
Yes.
you might want to notice that right now we have 9 participants
Perfect.
or 9 people on the screen, and 4 of us are on your team already.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if maybe we wouldn't better use the time to stay as a single group and work through some of the processes. Maybe each of us apprentices can take a turn or something of that nature, but there's not a lot of us to split out.
Whatever you say. If that works for you guys, it works for me.
Yeah, I had a thought around that as well.
Whatever we say.
What's your thought, Sean?
Oh, I thought maybe we could even just have everybody kind of introduce themselves, and that'll, that all you have to do is say your name or say hi, and that will get over the fear of talking. And so that might also open up the floor a little bit if everybody just wanted to say their name. I can start. My name's Sean. I'm here in Tacoma, Washington. It's good to be here.
Thank you, Sean. Sergio, how about you?
Yeah, I'm Sirge. I'm on the other side of the wall from Sean in Tacoma, Washington, and it's great to be here.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marcia, and I do not have a fear of speaking in public.
Wonderful. Well, we'll have to explore your fears, whatever they might be. All right. How about you, Brad?
Hi, I'm Brad from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Awesome. Good to see you. Hi, Jay. How about you?
Hello, my name is Jay. I'm from lovely Leawood, Kansas. I'm a professor, an attorney, and a Tai Chi teacher, so I have lots of fears, but public speaking isn't one of them.
Thank you. Great. How about you, Janet?
I'm on the road. I'm traveling, moving, which is great and exciting. So new adventures. And what was the question?
Where are you in the world? Right?
Right now I'm in Clear Lake, California, heading north.
Fantastic. All right. Maria, are you calling in from St. Petersburg or where are you? Feel free to turn your camera back on and unmute yourself.
Hello. Yes, I'm from St. Petersburg, and I'm actually a teacher and give lectures. So for me, it's normal.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us today. And I don't know who the person is by the name Hedwidge. Please unmute yourself, turn your camera on. I would love to know who you are and where you're from. Hello, hello. Interesting. We can't hear you for some reason.
Mute? Hello?
There
Can
we
you
are.
hear me?
Yes.
Oh, because I have those earphones. Because I couldn't hear you before. I had to put the earphones. I am from Connecticut, and that's the first time I'm meeting you. So I am interested what you have to offer.
Oh,
I'm
wonderful.
open, I'm learning all my life. So I want to learn something new.
Fantastic.
How do you pronounce your name?
Edwige.
Oh, wonderful. Where are you from?
The H is silent. In French, the French people don't know how to pronounce an H. So it's there, but it's Edwige.
Got it. Excellent. All right. Well, Marcia, since you are the one who came up with this brilliant idea to not have breakout rooms, would you volunteer to be our first coach who would take whoever volunteers to be in a hot seat and walk them through the process of exploring their fears?
Absolutely.
Marvelous. All right. Now, folks, who would like to volunteer to be in a hot seat and explore how to work with fears, whether they are conscious, unconscious, and see what Marcia can do to help you?
All right, I'll go ahead and volunteer. Since I'm not afraid of speaking, I have one that I think is probably relevant to this. I, over the pandemic, was vigorously doing an exercise class that involved sliders and hurt my knee. And so I now notice that whenever I do anything, I tend to be a little more cautious than I used to be, with my knee. And so do you have any thoughts on fear of injury? Because I think that one may be relevant to most of the people in this group. Well, maybe not fear of injury, but I imagine everybody here, if you're active, has had an injury, whether it's falling off a wall or enjoying the class too much when there was no one properly supervising to ramp me back.
Very, very good. Very good. So yes, I want to reflect on some of the things that Lama said, which is exploring the edge of your comfort zone does not always mean doing the thing. Like, I'm not going to go hunt down a spider so I can be in its company to undo my fear of a spider. And I'm not going to wait until one shows up. But there is something I can do, and the same with your pain confrontation, that I can do any time to explore the edge of that comfort zone and I'm sure effectively relieve some of the mental tension that you have around that behavior. So first off, what I would ask, and everybody can kind of go along with this at however you like, I would ask you to just relax. The first thing is get comfortable. So literally, like if you need to move in your seat a little bit, find your seat bones so that you are settled in and feeling comfortable. Okay. Take a couple of deep breaths. You want to really feel that state of just calming your body down. Feel how calm you can bring yourself head to toe in just a seated position. Now, Jay, if we were doing this in a full session, We might take 20 or 30 minutes to do this, but I'm going to do an abbreviated version just as a demonstration. So I'm going to ask you to recall the worst time that you had this fear of this kind of behavior. And you don't have to tell the story, just let me know that you in fact have a recall of that event. You have something there? Okay, good. And for the rest of you, if we were doing a full session, I would also ask when was the first time that he had this scenario come up, and when was the most recent time it came up? There's a lovely saying that your issues are in your tissues. So what we're actually doing with this fear is relieving it, releasing it from the tissues, right? So holding on to that recall of the worst time this happened to you. Jay, can you tell me about the images that come up? Is there a picture that you see in your mind's eye?
Yeah, yes.
You don't have to describe it. Let me know that you have a picture. Great. And is it in black and white or color?
It's vivid color.
Okay. And is it like a panorama all the way around you, or is it in some kind of a frame?
It's, I would say, more of a frame. It's focused.
Okay, great. And do you see yourself in the picture like you are watching a movie, or are you in the movie?
I am in it.
Okay, great. Okay. Is there anything else in the way of imagery that comes up for you? Like you said the colors were bright, the lighting then bright, right?
Yep.
If anything else comes up for you that's noticeable in the form of imagery, please let me know. I'm going to ask you about sounds. Are there any sounds in that memory, that recall?
Yes, a loud music along with the sound of fists hitting a bag.
Okay, got it. Right. And are there any, those are external sounds. Are there any other external sounds?
That's probably about it.
Are there any internal sounds?
Probably breathing at that point, fairly, exhale on strike kind of breath.
Right, great. Any voice that you hear inside your own head?
Internally, again, just a little worried when I feel just a little twinge, in the back knee as I try to, leverage for the strike.
Are you talking to yourself?
Talking to myself, kind of over monitoring, I would say.
Okay, got it.
Overly focused on something that if I probably ignored it would probably be fine.
Okay. Now, are there physical sensations that come with this recall?
Yes, I can actually almost feel that little, just kind of not quite pain, but on the edge of pain that you get sometimes in a joint when it's recovering.
Right. Any other physical sensations?
Kind of wet from sweat.
Okay.
At that point.
Does the recall have any sense of, this is an odd question, any sense of texture?
Yes, the only thing that surprised me is it's very vivid, given that it was probably 6 months ago.
Okay. All right. Any other sense of feeling or motion that arises when you have that recall?
There was a lot of, again, it was a twisting motion, so I can feel, I can really feel the waist kind of getting into the motion to put power behind the punch, and then surprisingly feeling the twinge in the back leg. It was a boxing class, obviously.
All right, good. So now what I'm going to ask you to do is just be with that memory. We're working on your worst memory. And in front of you, you have that screened image. I'm going to ask you to take that screened image and begin to push it away from you. It moves away or you move back, either one works. Just begin to push that visual image away. So it's in your mind's eye, you're just pushing it away. And the colors begin to dim, excuse me, and become less vivid. The light begins to dim around the image and you're pushing it away, and it's dimming and pushed away. And finally it becomes this tiny little image so far out there, you can no longer really presence what's in this screen. It's just a dot. And I want you to take that dot and move it down into the bottom right-hand corner of your mental visual picture. In regards to the sounds that are there, you began with, there is this loud sound of music. I want you to reach up and take the volume switch inside of your control room and just begin to turn that sound down. Just turn it down, down, and down. You can hear the music fading. Pretty soon it's just sort of a little static in the background, and then it's down to the level where you don't notice it at all. And now all that's left is the sounds that are happening inside of your head. So with those same sounds, I want you to notice, is it your voice? And if it is your voice, then have your voice whisper. Just become very still and quiet with that speaking and let it drift down until it is no longer audible. Your own voice has just disappeared into the background of the experience. And as we recall the physicalness of the event, you mentioned a sensation of pain. Let's take that pain and shrink it. See it with a shape. See it condensing and becoming smaller and smaller until it is reduced to nothing more than a marble. And now we're going to take that pain and just turn it into a marshmallow and then a mist, and it's just going to disappear. And the physicalness of touching items become just the comfort of being present in your own space. And the sensation of it being a vivid experience and the motion of your body. Let the motion of your body slow down and slow down and slow down and slow down until you are at center and grounded and still. Tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, where does that fear live now?
It's hard to put a number on it, but I would say it's probably a 3 or a 4.
Okay. And what's left there for you that would reduce that experience? Is it sound? Is it images? Is it a sensation?
And I hopefully I'm not undermining this, but I would, for me, it's risk. Right now I can do all the things that I wish to do. And I'm afraid if I do some of the things that I used to do that are at the periphery, play tennis, basketball, boxing, that require sudden unplanned movements. Okay. I do a lot of Tai Chi, I do a lot of yoga, a lot of swimming. So my fear is fear of taking that risk, okay, that I may re-injure the knee. So that's kind of the kind of fear I have. So it's not like a spider fear, it's more of a...
Good, yeah. So looking specifically at that experience of risk, okay, does that have a shape when you experience that sense of risk?
Yeah, I would say probably like a big red stop sign. Because like I was going to register yesterday and it was going to do a slider class for the first time.
Yeah, it's
But I
not
did-
necessary at this point to go into the
Oh,
explanation.
sorry.
Yeah, what we're doing is just quieting down the tissue, quieting down the nerves. So if you take that concept of there's that big stop sign that shows up, let's turn it pink. Turn that stop sign pink and then shrink it down. And let's turn it kind of creamy yellowish, you know, and shrink it down a little bit more. And then reduce it to nothing but a dot. Can you feel the shift in the sensation inside your body? Okay, so where would you scale yourself now on the scale of 1 to 10?
I would scale myself probably at a 2. I'll probably take some of those risks.
Right, so I'm going to leave us, right now what I want you to do though is to anchor that sensation. So some physical contact, one of the most common ones is doing this, you know, pressing your finger and your thumb together, right? So while you're really presencing that sensation of, wow, exhale, I'm calm, the risk does not rise up to stop me, feeling that calm, feeling the willingness to take up action. Okay, let that go. So then, Jay, can you tell me how many houses are on the street where you live?
Depends how far you'd extend it, but the
It's all right. You don't need to go any further than
Well.
that. Just I'm walking your brain around a little corner there. All right. So now I want you to do this. Return your fingers to that position. Yeah. Do you feel the sensation come back of calm and presence? So now you have an anchor when you are looking to re-experience that state of willing to take the risk. Just present yourself with that anchor. Right? So thank you for letting me walk you through that. And again, for everybody on the screen, that is kind of an abbreviated, very quick version of an NLP process that helps you release those stories. And notice we didn't have to hear the story because the energy was tied up in the tissue. We can just talk to the imagery. We can talk to the tissue through the subconscious mind and have a powerful release. So thank you for letting me play.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Jay. You guys did it really well. It was a fantastic example of how NLP works in conjunction with Qigong coaching. Obviously, I studied NLP as well and developed Qigong coaching somewhat informed by neurolinguistic programming so that we can actually get the best of both worlds. We can use a mind-body approach, which is what we just experienced today, basically addressing the mental images and processes first, and then see how they can be anchored or manifest in the physical body. We can also take the body-mind approach, which is addressing the holding patterns or movements or other experiences related to the physical body or how it functions, and then see how they affect the mental states and how they can become a new sense of identity that basically is either fearless or devoid of other unwanted or unnecessary qualities. What combines them is the energy, because the mind and body are not two separate entities. They are parts of the whole organism. And what is it that keeps the mind and body together in one living organism? It's life force, Qi, if you will it. And what happens when we work with energy? It integrates the mind and body even more thoroughly. Many people have some degree of disconnect between their minds and their bodies, as you know, probably. It's just like the two sides of the coin. You look at the heads, they look right side up. You look at the tails, oh my goodness, they look upside down. What happened? In America, there are actually quite a few coins that minted either upside down or crooked somehow. Probably not the only country in the world where people don't pay attention to connecting minds and bodies or heads and tails of their coins in a way that would be workable. Now, the value of the coin doesn't necessarily change if it's upside down. Maybe it's even more valuable if you are a numismat collector of coins. However, who wants to be in the mind and the body that are disconnected or dysfunctional like that? So what we'll learn is how to reorganize and reconnect them using the energy as a medium. It's almost like the white cream and the Oreo cookies, where you can actually move one Oreo cookie in relation to the other. They still stay connected, but you can actually reconnect them in a way that would be more workable. When that happens, very quickly, literally overnight, there's massive transformation or even transcendence. We transcend some of the things that perhaps used to bug us down. Fear would be an excellent example of that. Now, I can talk about it for hours, but I would love to give more of you folks an opportunity to experience some benefits of becoming more fearless. Who would like to be our next volunteer on the hot seat to receive a miniature coaching session?
This is a good time for me to speak up because I appreciate what Marcia did, and I hope it helped Jay. But I know that process so well. I could have led it too, and it's not what I need. I have the courage to do anything. I'm a performer, musician, and speaker, and I will not say no to anything. But I will have fear in my body, and I can work through all the mental stuff. And so I think it's just, PTSD on a neurological level. And so I know a lot of the things of where to put my body to entrain my mind to that. And it's still not enough.
Yeah, well, let me ask, who would like to help Brad? Sean or Sirka? You guys are up.
Who's jumping? Sean?
He's raising his hand. Great.
He's right, okay.
Go for it, my man.
Sure. Okay. Hi, Brad.
Hi, Sean.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
I appreciate being a performer as I play music myself. I don't perform per se as much, but I do write a lot of music. And so I do have a great passion for music as well. So you say this, you're able to perform, you're able to function, but there's something that still kind of grips you. And when do you notice it at any specific time where this happens?
Pretty much all the time. And it's, to be very precise, like I've really gone into this, it's just the fear of being seen, even when I know there's no danger. I mean, I know there's absolutely nothing to lose. Just being seen is too much.
Oh, interesting.
Even right now, knowing that everyone's here on my side to help me, I feel exposed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And so, can you tell me where exactly do you feel that in your body?
There's a contracting in every way. There's a tingle, and I don't normally like shake, but 2 weeks ago I had my worst shaking experience ever. But it's mainly just this tingle and this, my face feels like this. I'm sure it's not, but I feel like
Okay, so when you have these, you said this happened a few weeks ago, where it was like really, really magnified.
Yeah.
Okay, so when this happened a few weeks ago and it was ultimately magnified, do you remember where you were, what you were doing?
Yeah, again, it was the most affirming experience ever. And I was shaking in it. So yeah, I remember it very clearly.
Okay. So do you remember what your body was doing? So your body was shaking, you were tensing up, and you remember how your breath was?
Not not specifically in that moment, but in general, I have a halted kind of breath. So it's very fair to say that was happening.
Okay. Yeah, because I can tell by the way kind of your shoulders are, if you were to kind of look at me and I were to look in the camera,
Yeah.
and kind of see how my posture is. Basically, I'm kind of collapsing on and there's nothing you need to do, but I would like to help, you by just kind of showing you, this is how my shoulders are when I really replicate how your pattern is. And here are my lungs, right? So really collapsing on the chest. So it could be that your body, there's something in your body. If your body wants to do this, right? If your body's asking for this, many people would probably say, "Oh, just do something else. Distract yourself." But what if we, kind of like what Lama said, actually orient ourselves in the direction of this issue, and quite physically put ourselves into this so that we can manifest it, right? Because the body, there's something in the body that really wants to express itself. So what if you were to actually bring yourself into this position? So if you would like, if you're open to exploring it with me, would you round your shoulders even more for me?
Yeah, just to not waste time, I understand your observation, but this is mainly because of where I'm sitting at my computer and
Oh,
leaning towards the mic and the height of the camera. In general, when I perform, I mean, I already do that. I always stand up, I take up space, I make sure I move. So I'm already creating those body triggers to behave freely, and it helps to a degree.
great. So by fully expressing it and actually doing what your body wants to do, so you can even tense up more. You can allow your body to really, feel into this and tense up even more, maybe even round your back or contract your muscles. You said you kind of feel this tightness, this contraction that happens, rounding your back a little bit. And then just pay attention to your breath as you do this, right? So as you squeeze in, notice how you're breathing, right? So what we can do is maybe just tense it up just by 10%, 10% of what you would normally feel, right, on a regular basis. And then again, we don't have to feel the emotions that come up with it. We can just observe, right? So just observing your breath, observing your muscles as you tense up, and notice how you're breathing now. So did you increase it 10%?
Yes.
Okay, great. So how's your breath? How do you notice your breathing pattern?
It's it's locked. My diaphragm's locked down, and there's extra tension in my jaw.
Okay. Okay, so we don't want to go to the point of spasming, right? I don't want to put you there, but what if we were to increase it just 10 more percent? See what happens when you increase this a little bit more. And then again, notice your breathing. Just observe any change whatsoever in your breathing pattern. If you notice a sigh of relief, or you spontaneously want to move or yawn or anything like that, let me know if anything like that comes up.
Yeah, it sort of wants to give up. Like it's like, hey, relax, in a good way.
Okay. Okay, so now we have a choice, right? We're giving our body a choice. We're giving our energy a choice of either going further or backing off 10% and observing again. So I'm going to leave that up to you. Would you like to go a little bit further into this and explore what it would be like, or would you like to back off 10%?
I don't know. I don't mind going further, but my body's kind of saying everything's cool. You can stop,
Okay. Okay. So just notice your breath. What we're looking for is a nice ultimate change in your breathing pattern, right? So we want to have either a sigh of relief or a yawn, or if you notice that you do want to spontaneously move, that's a great indication that your body's gotten what it's needed from this pattern of tension, and that we can slowly back off. So if that feels good for you and you'd like to slowly back off, then we can start to decrease by 10%. How's that sound?
Yeah, but parts of my body are letting loose anyway.
Okay, great. And it's all intuitively, you're kind of moving in that direction. So why don't we start to do that just by 10%? Okay, so you can loosen it just by 10%, and then just notice your breathing again. How's your breathing pattern?
It's more anxious now.
Oh, it's anxious. Okay. So when that anxiety comes up, how is that manifesting in your body?
Just the whole air passage is shut down, and the it's just way more effort to breathe.
Okay, so that's when we back off.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, when we went deeper into it, my lower back and my hips kind of opened up to make room to breathe, I guess.
interesting. So again, if we notice that change, I just had a big sigh of relief. So I think that's a good confirmation that maybe you might explore going a little bit deeper then, right?
Okay.
So we can go again 10% more instead of backing off, and really allow your body to manifest this, really allow it to explore this for a moment, because your body's actually trying to tell you something. It's working on your behalf. It always is. Your heart beats on your behalf. You breathe on your own behalf, right? Everything's kind of working on your behalf. So your body actually does desire this. So instead of trying to outsmart the body, why don't we listen to it, right? And we'll take it in. So increase it by 10% more, and just notice your breath. What we're looking for is any type of change in your breathing pattern, any significant change whatsoever.
It's so much easier to breathe in this more contracted place. It's
Right?
like if you've heard of air hunger, it's like my body's adjusting to make way for it.
Great.
But
Great.
I do feel like I've met the edge of how far I can contract.
Ah, great. So just like what we discussed before, that would be your edge, right? That's why we don't want to push yourself over the edge, right? 10% we can increase and decrease, but we don't want to go over the edge, right? And so if you feel like that's your edge, just exploring again through observation, not judging yourself on anything here, just through observation, how you feel when you're in this contracted state, right? And just observing what it is to be here and what is this doing for you, right? And then whenever your body's ready, it can decrease, right? But only based upon if you are ready to decrease, right? If you're ready to let go of some of this tension, if your body's ready to let go of it, right? And so if it's, you just figure out for yourself whether or not you'd like to let go of some of this tension now.
Yeah, again, 80% of my body is letting go.
Great.
Besides my solar plexus.
Ah, okay. Great. And so just again through observation, noticing your breath. At any point, if you notice like a sigh of relief, again, those are all great indications. If you notice you want to spontaneously move, those are all great indications that your body is really, it's getting what it needs from this. And then you might be able to release a little bit more and observe, right? Because sometimes that comfort zone is that really contracted, tense place for many of us, right? We feel so contracted in society, out in public, and we don't have to throw ourselves into these situations. But if we feel comfortable enough to do it consciously, right? So it doesn't happen unconsciously. We begin to shake and convulse, when we don't want to. We actually do these things consciously. Then it tells the central nervous system, well, stop sending signals of contraction to my body. Stop, basically overriding the central nervous system. So it's not happening unconsciously for you anymore. You can consciously have a check on all of these tensions and anxieties that you feel in your body. So whenever you've reached that edge, right? Whenever you've consciously gone to that edge, you can explore it and find out what it has to teach you, what you have to learn from it. And then from there forward, you might be able to explore what it would be like to have a different mode of being, right? A different way of being, a different posture. And it might be just a subtle degree difference, but hey, it's a change, right? And if that's what you're looking for is change, then that's worth exploring as well.
So we basically went to level A of tension, and then we went deeper to level B. B was easier to breathe. And when we have come back to level A twice, it's harder to breathe. But this time, parts of my body are relaxing, but not to the degree it was when I was fully contracted at level B.
Yeah. Yeah, which makes sense, especially if there's tension around here. Anxiety has a tendency to embed itself, especially in the parasympathetics. We breathe through our chest, right? And people who aren't familiar with diaphragmatic breath, which is more centered in the body, tend to actually go to their chest to breathe, right? And I can even see that your shoulders are still kind of maintaining that, a little bit of roundedness. So again, it's an opportunity to kind of explore what it's like to really round. And then once those muscles begin to relax, like your legs and your hips began to relax after tensing up so much, the same thing will happen for your chest cavity and your intercostals and diaphragm and traps and whatever is kind of contracting in on your lungs. So it might become easier to breathe over time, but it's just exploring that tension instead of just negating it and going, I don't want to shake right now, right? We actually want, if you feel like shaking, then consciously do it, all right? Sit there and shake your body. If there's any contraction due to anxiety that you're not sure where it's coming from, but your body wants to do it anyway, listen to the body. Don't negate anything, any of the signals that come up. Just go right into it, right? Literally orient yourself in the direction of these issues and then consciously do it so it's not happening unconsciously and you don't feel like you have control over it. Because, hey, if we did have control over it, we probably wouldn't do it unconsciously, right?
So I'm still purposefully contracted. Am I supposed to be here? Or
Hey,
not?
whenever you would like to release that contraction by 10 more %, let me know, or feel free to do it yourself, right? Release some of that contraction. And just noticing your breath, right? Noticing that biological feedback that comes up. It could be pain, it could be shortness of breath. All those are signals. And more relaxed breath is a great signal that you've gotten what you've needed from the contraction, right? A nice flow of energy. Nice relaxation in the muscles is also a great biological feedback that your body's gotten what it's needed.
So okay. So I wanted to do this with beginner's mind to see where it might go, and I did. I have not. I've done that. Lama thought I did this on another session a couple months ago, and I'm already familiar with proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. What's going on here? And so I've done this exact thing at least 20 times. What was new this time was going so deep, and that relaxed. One, if how many times am I supposed to do this? I'll do it 100 if that's what it takes, but it hasn't really helped much until today. I don't know, what am I supposed to understand about how going deeper is more helpful than going halfway?
It's increasing to the degree that you don't push yourself beyond your edge, but you explore it. So you went to the degree where it was absolutely your edge. I mean, you said it out loud, and that was a great confirmation. You've reached that edge, which means for you, that's as far as you need to go, right? So it's not going to be the same every day. It's not going to be the same every time you do it. It's going to depend on what you need in that moment. And if that moment is calling for, let's say today you went 60% contraction, right? And then tomorrow, since you got so close to your edge, tomorrow you do 50% contraction. You go, okay, I got that sigh of relief. I got all that feedback. So what we're looking for is the feedback. If you were able to get to that edge and you're at 70-80%, one day, and you go, wow, okay, that was as much as I could take, and you're slowly upping the degrees, and you notice, wow, I'm having such great response from this. I'm feeling more relaxed. I'm feeling better. My anxiety is gone. Perfect. Okay. So we want to be able to just explore the edge and then start to taper away. And then when we taper away, it's important as well, because when you start to back off, you just observe, I've been doing this unconsciously for so long. And now that I do it consciously, I notice that my body isn't really responding that well to this anxiety, right? And so it kind of connects with your body and go, all right, so well, this means I don't need to go into this every time I go to the grocery store, every time I perform, every time I hear the dog bark in the neighbor's yard, right? Whatever the trigger might be, wherever you feel it, right? And if it doesn't happen, all the time, then perhaps, it's starting to lessen every day. But just going towards your edge. Does that make sense?
Almost. So when I got level A was basically me recreating something that's very normal to me that's dysfunctional. And when I went deeper to level B, that actually I found relief there. So is the takeaway to explore different levels because that's where release was, or should I have stayed in level A? Because that's what I've been doing and it hasn't really helped.
Your body will determine that, right?
Okay.
Level B today was exactly where you needed to be. I mean, again, think of it, it's not so much as levels, but again, varying degrees of resonance. You resonated with the direction we went today. You simply resonated with it. Your body responded well to it. So it's just varying degrees of resonance. If that was what you need today, great. Tomorrow it might be different, right? So it's not trying not to overthink it, but really get into your body. How do you feel, right? Like you can tell me how you feel right now.
There's I guess that's a really great question. I do feel more at ease being here. Maybe that's just because we've interacted and exposed, but there is more relaxation over my body.
That's great. Awesome.
Looks like Lum has some input.
Yeah, to not take up too much time here. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. You did a really excellent job, Sean. Thank you, Brad. Yeah, I want to interject with the answer to the question, what to do if you go from A to B. Then what do? Do you go further to C to see how you're going to feel if you create even more tension? All of this is just talking about one-dimensional linear exploration. But what I was talking about just earlier today is when you go in the direction of the edge of your comfort zone, and if you're mindful, you stop when you reach the edge. The objective is to change the direction, literally at 90 degrees angle or whatever angle would be appropriate, and start moving along the edge rather than just concerning yourself about how far I go along this dimension. So basically, what we start doing is we start exploring a different dimension. What is it like to move along the edge rather than perpendicular to the edge? Rather than just exploring what if I tense up more or tense up less. Once you get to that edge and you maintain that same level of tension, now let's explore what is possible here. For example, it's easier to breathe, but I have more tension in other parts of my body. Well, in other words, what happens is that you experience certain benefit of doing what you've been trying to do unconsciously. Now, the question is how to achieve that benefit by other means instead of holding undue tension. There must be some other ways to connect with that benefit and reach it following a different course of action besides tensing up. What we're going to do is we're going to learn how to find out what is it that potentially could be a different course of action, providing me the benefit without the setbacks of tension. One of the things that you mentioned was shaking, vibration. And Sirke is nodding her head, so you know what I'm talking about. Vibration is actually a very interesting type of movement that is not something that most people do on a daily basis consciously, but it's actually a very interesting thing to explore as one of the alternative dimensions as you get to the edge of the comfort zone. Literally allowing yourself to do the shaking consciously, engaging in that which your body was involved in, but previously you were not trying to shake, you were trying to suppress it. I've worked with many people who experience various degrees of tremor or shaking. And most recently, a couple of months ago, I was working with a person in Toronto, Canada, who was diagnosed and treated for Parkinson's. In the beginning of sessions, she would often shake so much, she wouldn't be able to push any buttons on her laptop because her fingers just were not under her control. So on more than one occasion, I encouraged her to go ahead and actually actively shake. And first she was like, well, what are you talking about? I don't want to shake. I said, well, but you're doing it. You consciously don't want to do it, but your unconscious mind and your body actually are doing it. So how about we actually get on with the program and allow them to express what it is that they are trying to do. Sure enough, it took her quite a bit of effort to actually shake consciously because it's not easy. And once she spent about 3 minutes, the other time she spent less shaking, and overall, each and every time, it took her less and less time of doing this actively to eventually say, you know, I'm really sick and tired of shaking. I said, okay, well, only when you feel like you're really ready to stop shaking, you're welcome to slow it down and also reduce the amplitude of movement. And when you feel comfortable to stop, just feel free to stop. She literally did that and she stopped. Within the first half of the session, her constant tremor that she was suffering from, and she was receiving all kinds of nasty, really poisonous medications for treating Parkinson's, her shaking stopped. She actually picked up a pen and started writing something. She said, I haven't written anything with my handwriting in years. I said, well, how does it feel to write something with your hand with a pen? She was like, oh, it's amazing. I feel 10 years younger. I said, okay, well, how do you like being 10 years younger? She's like, oh, this is incredible. This is amazing. Maybe I should go to my doctor and tell him that I don't need the medication anymore. I say, well, I'm not telling you to medicate or not medicate. I'm not a physician, so I'm not going to prescribe or try to wean you off of drugs. But yeah, you're welcome to talk to your doctor. However, the following week, she experienced some shaking in the beginning of the session again. So guess what we did? We did the same exercise or exploration of shaking. It didn't take her as long, maybe just 2 or 3 minutes. And then she stopped. And it literally created not only the ability to stop shaking in our weekly sessions, she also, of course, learned how to do it on her own whenever she needed to. She basically had the tool. Obviously, well, I don't want to say obviously. I don't think that you're suffering from any Parkinson's. The shaking that you described is neurological, or I should say emotional, and most likely. Is that right, Brad?
Yes.
However, the principle is the same. We literally learn how to allow what is coming up to the surface from the depths of unconscious mind to become conscious of it. That's the definition of awareness. That's the faculty of quality of consciousness that allows you to know that which used to be unknown, or become conscious of that which you used to be unconscious of, and own it. When you own it, when you take charge of your experience, then on one hand, it's kind of trippy because it's like, well, I'm responsible for my own shaking. Well, yeah, nobody's doing it to you, so might as well take responsibility for it. But once you start feeling like, okay, I own it, I am totally in control. I can shake more, I can shake less. Well, how much more can you shake? How much less can you shake? You know what I mean? Once you have the handle on it, then it's totally up to you how to be in the context of that experience. Now, we can say, wait a moment, but shaking is just a symptom of anxiety. But we talked about how not only mind-body approaches work, body-mind approaches work as well. And they actually are constantly working with each other. Those two sides of the coin constantly are communicating and connecting. And so once we work with that, both perhaps using mind-body approaches as well as body-mind approaches, something really cool happens. The energy associated with that state of consciousness, with that way of physical being that is fearless, or that is more confident and devoid of anxiety, actually becomes the norm. But that will require some coaching to develop a new sense of identity, identifying with that energy, identifying with that way of being. So you already enrolled in our group coaching program. I will definitely support you in that context. If you need some more individual attention, of course, myself or any one of my apprentices would love to work with you. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, that's cool. The shaking was very, very rare for me. And like a football player, it's civilized. We allow them to do that in public, but I can't really hold a guitar and play like that. And what's fascinating, to highlight what you're saying about the emotional aspect, is while I was speaking, I was shaking, and then I had to demonstrate something on my guitar, and it went away instantly, because I totally believe that I'm great at guitar. But when I spoke, I didn't feel worthy or whatever. And it's amazing how it flipped like that.
Ah, awesome. Sirka, you have something to share.
Yes. Hi, Brad. I have a question for you, because I'm a performer as well. I'm a singer, and you play guitar. Do you also sing, or?
Yes, I sing too.
So when you perform, do you perform in a band, or?
All kinds of different settings.
Okay, awesome. So when you perform with the guitar, where you say that you are confident and you don't have anxiety, and you can totally, wow the crowd. You didn't say that, but I'm just gonna assume that that's what you're doing. So when you're in that state, on the stage playing the guitar, where do you feel that confidence and that knowing that you are a great guitar player? Where in your body do you feel that?
It's not in my body. It's my awareness or mind. I know, but my body has a mind of its own. My body is afraid. That's why I started with this like neurological. My body is afraid. I'm not thinking they hate me. I can't do this. I know I can do it. I know they like it. Um, so the part of me that's at ease is the space. The body's afraid.
And is the body also afraid when you play the guitar?
Um, I'm not sure. How's that a different question?
Well, you say that your body is afraid, but is it both when you are speaking or being yourself? Your body is afraid. Is it as afraid when you play the guitar? Is it the same feeling of afraid, of scared?
It's not the same symptoms, but it's the same feeling. I literally can play and know I'm going to do it perfectly and it's going to be great. And there's this fight flight as well. It's really bizarre.
Okay. So when you play the guitar, you also feel fight flight mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But it feels differently. You have different symptoms. So there are parts of your body that are relaxing when you play guitar, would you say?
Yeah, the parts that handle the mechanics of making it work fine. But the rest of me it has the impulse to contain myself and contract.
Okay.
And
And
even
what?
with my voice, like when I'm speaking right now, it's contracted and small, and when I sing, I can make it open. It's so bizarre.
Well, so let me ask you just one more question. So what muscles do you use when you play the guitar?
Well, I play guitar like a Tai Chi practitioner. I use all my muscles. So like my pelvis is involved in this, but so I mean that's really, yeah, that's the answer. But what are you asking?
What muscles? All the muscles that you can list that you use as when you play the guitar that are working for you. What comes to mind first thing?
Well, obvious answer is my hands,
Yeah. What
but
controls your hands?
my mind, my brain.
Yeah. What about arms?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
everything's every
Shoulders?
motion. Yeah.
Yeah. What about chest?
Yes.
Chest is working. What about solar plexus? If you imagine you're playing guitar right now, is your solar
Yeah.
plexus working? Okay, so you can, yeah, diaphragm. What about lower belly?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you play guitar, would you say that that could be, and it might be a little far out, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Would you say that that could be a form of shaking?
Sure.
Because you are literally moving your arm up and down. You're saying, I can see, it's funny because when you talk about playing guitar, your whole body pattern changes. You get
Yeah.
into the state of, oh yeah, I can, and confidence is like showering over you. I see that.
Yeah.
And so I think Lama is on point, and Sean talked about some of it, like your body is like calling for that shake or calling for that movement, calling for moving more. And it's almost like when you get anxious, when you talk about your anxiety, I see your body being way more still and contracted and, stopping, you stop moving.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, and of course we've gone all the time, all that, but I'm just wondering if you, next time you get anxious, and this is way easier for me to say than do, right? Because it's your anxiety, and I know what you're dealing with, because as a performer, I take on my performance persona going on stage. Getting off stage, I will shake and cry and, oh my God, that went horrible, and I don't want them to see me like this, and all that stuff. So I know how you feel, right? Oh, that's how I feel. I don't know if that's exactly the same, but I'm wondering if next time you feel anxious about something, what would happen if you simply went into guitar pose stand and started just playing your guitar, even though your guitar is not there? You just start and take on your guitar persona and your performance and notice what energy you have there. And I could walk you through all this right now, but since we're running out of time, but notice what your energy is in that moment when you're playing the guitar. Did you notice that deep breath you just had?
Yeah.
Because your diaphragm now is working with you. And when you are talking about your anxiety, I see that your diaphragm is stuck and contracted, or like it's more actually kind of in between, I almost feel.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're not fully exhaling all your air out and you're not fully inhaling. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah. So would you do me the honor and try that next time you feel anxious, to tap into the energy of your guitar performing self and just do it and humor yourself, maybe looking at it like, this is so weird, this is so stupid, and just see if it feels better, if your anxiety actually kind of relieves.
I think you really, really nailed it, because I've been intuiting lately is that I'm holding stuff in. And so I try to talk with free my hands to talk more. I take up space, and that's kind of like, that's using a resource like an NLP kind of thing, but you're having me map across where it's already working instead of create it from the outside.
Yes. So
yeah.
so
And
basically, sorry, go ahead.
one more thing interesting with that is I never shake, except this other time, this time I was telling you about, and I was really cold, so I was already shivering, and so the speaking actually, I guess it kind of it allowed that to come out. So that's really interesting.
Well, it's almost like, I see you, Marsha, just 1 second. It's almost like, did you ever have role models when you were younger, or maybe you still have role models or heroes?
I do now, yeah.
Yeah, and if you were to try and perform, like, I don't know if you do cover or original music. Both. So when you do cover songs, do you ever feel like, I'm going to go into a tribute version of this song and I'm going to channel? No? Okay.
No, I don't have a persona. That would make things easier. I don't. My whole thing is I'm just real, like that's my whole thing.
I love that. However, have you ever seen tribute bands?
Yes.
Yeah, and they step in, and they're silly. I know it's a little silly, right?
I know what you're saying there.
Yeah. But if you like look at your guitar player self as your role model in life, because that guy, his chest, his diaphragm is working. He's breathing deeply. He is not afraid of shaking because he's literally doing it all the time when he plays the guitar, kind of, right? And he moves, he's there, he gives to the crowd. People, applaud him for what he's doing. So what if you took on the role model of yourself playing the guitar and striving to be more like him in your daily life?
That's awesome. That's so helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being open and vulnerable. Okay, Marsha has a hand up.
And we have a special energy practice that allows you to not only tap into the energy associated with that way of being, that energy of the guitar player self, but also integrate it into your habitual sense of identity, transforming that sense of identity into a new identity that becomes your new normal. That's what I was talking about when I said, well, that may require some coaching, but yeah, it obviously goes beyond what we can cover in our coaching clinic, but it's totally doable, and many, many people have gone through the process, benefited from it, and you might be a next one.
Yeah, I'll contact you about that. That sounds great.
Awesome. Marsha, you had something to say.
Yeah, my observation was this: when you you made a comment of, we were looking at you and it made you feel contracted right in the beginning. And then you talk about being on stage. And I had this picture of Joe Cocker. It's like there is no man who gets on stage who shook more and just writhed and contracted more on stage than that man did. And people loved it. You know, he let it go. And if you want to go on the feminine side, you can think of somebody like Janis Joplin. Man, she doesn't hold back. You know, she just rips it when she is out there. You know, and was she worried about people looking? Was Joe Cocker thinking, oh my God, they think I look weird? Nah, he was just lost in the music, you know? So just an encouragement, we will love you as you express that full self of just letting go. I'm also a musician, so I know what it's like to like go through the realms of that. So rip a big one, Brad.
It's funny because I do move. I do allow myself to move. And I've done that, all that deep trance identification, shape-shifting stuff where I've studied people and watched that. But I'm sorry, I probably can't pronounce your name. Sirki, is that it?
Yeah, very close.
Is like that, to be able to just model myself and then let that go further. That's really, really resonating with me.
Awesome. Marvelous.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Brad, for stepping up. And thank you, Sirka, and thank you, Sean, and thank you, Marcia. Thank you, all of you folks, Jay and Janet and Maria and Hedwig and Danielle. I don't see you, Danielle, but I know that you're listening to us because you are connected. And all of the other folks who participated in our coaching clinic today, appreciate you, love you. I want to be here to support you in every way I can. And I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. We're going to have another Qigong coaching clinics then. Until then, namaste.